What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here. The last player... I promise you, this is the real last player ratings of the season.
The last of the last.
And this is the last of the last. And this is the season rating. So we'll be going through every member of the playing squad this season and giving them a rating out of 10. And let's start off with Captain Hugo Laurice. Now, what are you going to give him?
I'm going to give him an 8.
8.
I think he's had a really good season, really underrated season, and I think he tops the charts for like most goals saved, expected goals. So I think he's really improved, and especially since he's come back from his injury. Yeah,
I'm going to agree with that. I think an 8 is a fair score for him, and I think it probably could have been even more if he stayed fit throughout the whole season and didn't get injured.
I think some respect has been put back on his name this season, for
definitely. Sure. Paolo Gazzaniga.
I'm going to give a 6. I think he did okay when he came in for Hugo. I don't think he was too bad, but I think he had a real chance to stake his claim for a first team spot, and he didn't really take it.
I'm going to give him a 7, just because that he came in and was. I don't think he did that badly. I think there was a few performances where he made a few mistakes, but on a whole, I think he was pretty good. I don't think too many complaints can be had with Gazzaniga.
Did his job okay. I think he's proved himself as a good sub keeper.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7 anyway. Let's move on to Toby Alderweireld.
I'm going to give him an 8.
8. Why?
Because I think he's done really well, especially since the lockdown. Since he's come back in the team, he's definitely been an 8 or a 9. I think before that, whenever he's played, whenever Jose's called upon him, he's really been Jose's man. And he signed a contract, and I think he's had a really good season. He's back to form, I think, for Toby. He had a few downs under Pochettino early in the season, but I think it's a solid season overall.
I would say if you're judging it from when Mourinho comes in till the end of the season, probably an 8. I think you're right, but I think if you take into account the beginning half of the season, maybe it knocks it down to a 7. I'm probably going to give it. I'm going to give it a 7 for Toby Alderweireld. Jan Vertonghen.
Jan Vertonghen's last season, unfortunately, was his worst season for me. I'm going to have to give him a 5, I guess. Yeah, it's a tough one. Look, it was a season where it all unravelled for Jan. I mean, he had that moment against Wolves where he scored the winning goal in the last minute, but other than that, he was pretty poor whenever he played.
Yeah. Apart from his last appearance where he got a clean sheet.
Yeah, that was a great performance. It was sad to see Jan go.
But yeah, I think you're right, a 5. Davinson Sanchez.
I'm going to give him a 7. I think it was a pretty solid season, I think, overall. I've criticised Davinson a lot for a lot of his time, but I think as a pure defender, I think he's had a pretty good season. He's cutting out those mistakes from his game. He's just got to improve on the ball, but I think I'm going to give him a 7.
I think this could be his best season for Spurs. Maybe his first season. But yeah, I think this is definitely up there with his best season at Spurs, and I think a 7 is fair. I don't think he deserves anything more or anything less, to be honest. Jaffa Tanganga.
I'm going to give him a 7.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play too many games, let's be honest.
But he's broken to a team. It's his breakthrough season. It wasn't like he was a consistent starter throughout the whole season, but whenever he was called upon, most of the time, Spino, his debut against Liverpool, absolutely fantastic. He got, I think, Watford in his second game man of the match as well, maybe.
There were a lot of mistakes in there.
There are a few mistakes, but I think he's still learning his trade, isn't he? But I think it was a good breakthrough season. I think nothing out of this world, but I think fairly solid, and he deserved his contract.
I think, yeah, definitely deserved his contract. But I think if you're going to judge a player that hasn't just broken through this season and on that kind of performances, you're probably giving him like a 5, something like that.
6,
but,
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, but just because it's his breakthrough year, Tottenham boy, born and bred, yeah, you're probably right, a 7 is warranted. Eric Dier.
Eric Dier, I'm going to give a 6, because I think we all probably pre-lockdown were happy to see him leave, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Especially his time in midfield, I think, is finished. I think we knew that. I think as soon as that Brighton game happened, I think we all knew that he can't play in centre midfield anymore. I think that he's really come on since he started to play centre back again. I think he's chosen a position now. There's no ambiguity about where he wants to play. He's now a centre back, and I think his performances have really improved. And I think he just about saved his season with his performances just before and post lockdown. So I'm going to give him a 6.
I'm going to give him a 5. I think yes, his performances did improve, but it was only about 5 games or 4 or 5 games where he had improved performances. I don't think that can warrant putting his points up, but I think there's definitely improvements and signs there for next season where he could get a much better rating. But I think on a whole, his performances this season don't really deserve more than a 5.
Yeah, but I think there's more hope at the end of this season than there was at the end of last season for Dyer.
That's definitely true. Serge Aurier.
I'm going to give him, for Serge, 6. I'm just going to give him a 6.
I had 6 in my mind.
Yeah, just 6. Just because, look, he makes a lot of mistakes. We all know that about Serge. But I think
his stats speak for itself.
I think he does make a lot of interceptions. He makes a lot of tackles. He's not a defender who's reactionary. He likes to anticipate things. He's not. He's
definitely not reactionary.
He's on the front.
He definitely is reactionary. I mean,
no, he's not reactionary. The problem is sometimes he's too proactive. That can be his problem. And I think going forward, especially in the early days of Jose, he was arguably our most potent attacking threat at the early days. He was getting forward really well.
How many assists did he get in those first few games?
I think overall he got like 6 assists for this season, or 7 assists, which is pretty solid for a defender, a right back. And I think he should be happy with that. And I think he ends the season with our most tackles and most interceptions. However, it's just so many mistakes in crucial moments as well. Cost us big time, unfortunately. So it knocks him down a few pegs. And I think obviously, we all know he needs upgrading, but for what he is, I think a 6 out of 10 probably is fair score for Serge this season.
No, I completely agree with that. Some crazy bad moments, some great moments, and some damn right stupid moments. But that's Serge Aurier in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Ben Davies, standard 6.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. I think. Obviously, he started the season injured, didn't he? And Danny Rose was playing quite a bit.
And he got injured again when Jose first came in.
That's right, he got injured again when Jose first came in for quite a while. But since he came back from that injury, he's been pretty solid. I think he's, except for maybe the first few games, he was just coming back in. I think post-lockdown, he's been fairly solid. I think the new role under Jose, where he's kind of in a back three, not forced to go forward too much, suits him. I do think it suits him more. But he has had some poor games where he's been found out a bit. So I think 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's the standard Ben Davies 6 out of 10 rating. I mean, as Jose said, you always know what you're going to get with Ben Davies. And that's what it is, 6 out of 10. Harry Winks.
Harry Winks, I think... 6.
Yeah.
6 out of 10.
I
can't give him any higher than that. Look, I think he's had some good games.
I think he's improved as the season's gone on.
That's true. I think the deeper role might... We're yet to see what his best position is in midfield, but he's been playing this deeper role in the 4-3-3 as of late, and I think his performances have improved, but I'd just like to see some more forward passing for him, some more progressive play, and I'd like to see how he performs when he's really challenged in the first team with the likes of Højbjerg coming in next season if he ups his game. And obviously, Tanguy Ndombele hasn't offered much competition this season, but next season he can find his playing time maybe a bit limited because he made 30... He's made 31 appearances this season, which is quite a lot in the Premier League. Yeah. I think it's a solid season, but nothing spectacular.
I mean, Harry Winks, I think some games he's been brilliant. But a lot of games this season he's been dreadful. He really has. And I think you don't really know what you're going to get with Harry Winks when he gets in the starting lineup, because, like I said, sometimes he can just be sensational, be playing worldy balls over the top. And then sometimes he can't make a pass for a shirt in white. So it's very hard to give him a rating. But I think 6 is fair. Lamela.
See, for what he has done, for what he is, look, he doesn't start. He's not a great...
He's so hard to analyse.
I know, but I think, I honestly think Lamela, for his contributions off the bench, I think he's been pretty good. Like, his off-the-bench play, I'd give him a 7, but whenever he starts, he's like a 4 or 5. Yeah. That's the problem with him. I think post-lockdown, I think whenever he's played fairly well.
So a 6.
I guess I'll give him a 6 out of 10. But I think...
Everyone's getting a 6. 6 is all round.
No, we finished 6th, didn't we? But I think... I'll give him a 6. So again, it was the season where he didn't see the best of him. I think, again, it's a season where you feel there's more to give for Eric Lamela. I don't see too much. I don't know if he's going to be there.
2 goals and 1 assist in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think, wasn't great, I guess. It wasn't that good. But I think his value doesn't come in goals.
Eric Dier got more assists in the Premier League than Lamela this season.
That's harsh. That's bad. Maybe a 5. Maybe a 5 for Lamela.
I'm going to give him a 6. I think his contributions off the bench, especially since Mourinho's come in, I think has been superb. Mm-hmm. I think since Mourinho's come in, he's been one of our better players. He really has.
Yeah, off the bench, I would say, most of the time.
Moussa Sissoko.
I'll give him a 7.
7?
Yeah, I think he's had a pretty solid season. I think he's carried on with. He
was out for a lot of the season, though, wasn't he?
He was, but I remember he was getting a few goals at the beginning of Mourinho's reign. He got one against Burnley, one against Bournemouth.
He's got the same goals and assists ratio as Eric Lamela, 2 and 1.
That says more about Lamela than Sissoko. But I think Sissoko, I think he's worked really, really hard for the team. I think whenever he's called upon, he usually gives a solid performance. And without him, I think we would have struggled big time a lot of this season.
We did struggle big time when he was out.
But yeah, because he's the only midfielder we have in this current time who offers that running ability and that physicality in midfield. No one else really offers that.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7, and I'm going to give him a 7 because. When he was out of the team, we struggled and we missed him big time, like really big time. And when he's on the pitch, it just offers us a new dimension of strength. And he's one of these guys, he's probably the fittest guy in the squad, and he keeps going till the last second. And he's so valuable to us, even though he can't do anything when he's on the ball. His off-the-ball work is just second to none, and he does so much work for the team, and that's why I'm going to give him a 7. Let's move on to Dele Alli.
That's a difficult one. I think I'm going to give him a 6. I think I'm going to give him a 6. I think, look...
8 goals, 4 assists.
Yes. And I think the problem with Dele is that all came in a very short period of time, just after Mourinho got signed. I think he was starting to improve in the latter days of Poch. I remember he got a goal against Everton, and he got a goal against Watford at home, I believe, because he started the season injured. And then when Jose came in, there was a real upturn in form, and you thought, okay, the real Dele's back. Yeah. Had that amazing goal against Man United as well.
And Jose was just like, yeah, it's simple. You play Dele in his normal position, and this is what happens.
But the inconsistency has started to creep in again in his play. I think it has. I know he got injured again in the lockdown for the last few games of the season. But the only reason I'm giving him a 6 is just because I expect more from him. I do, because we know how much quality he has. We know what he can do. I think when he ends the season with 8 goals, 4 assists in 25 appearances, on the face of it, that's not terrible. That's decent numbers. And I think maybe if you give him a whole season fit, I think maybe Dele could get back to his best. But I think when he ends the season like that, I think he will probably be harsh on himself as well. I think he expects more from himself. So I think that was too much inconsistency after an initial upturn in form.
Yeah, I mean, Dele's really struggled for injuries this year. I think he's had 2 or 3 hamstring injuries alone. So you got to feel for him in that sense. And I think like you said, when Jose first came in, that's when he earned his money this season. In the first few weeks there, he got a lot of goals, a lot of assists. But the season is over 38 games, isn't it? He played 25 of those. And how many of those games would you say he actually had a good game? Even
10
half?
maybe,
even half?
Like...
Probably not even half. So on that... But the thing is with Dele Alli, we've said it so many times that...
He doesn't need to have a good game.
Exactly. He doesn't need to have a good game to get a goal or an assist. So I think 6 is probably a fair result for Dele.
But I think there were promising signs that he could possibly get back to his best, because I think we hadn't seen that form.
There's always snippets at Dele.
But I think that form he showed just post Mourinho introduction, we hadn't seen that in a while. So there's snippets maybe. I just worried he could be the fall guy if we do go for a 4-3-3 formation. He doesn't really fit in that.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. Let's go to Lucas Moura.
Post-lockdown. 35
games out of 38. 4 goals, 4 assists.
Post-lockdown, he's on 8. Pre-lockdown, he's on like a 4, honestly. He was that bad. A player of Lucas Moura's ability... I expect more from him. He should be getting more than 4 goals, and it's not even a case of that he's played little game time or anything. He's been out on the team. He's consistently started pretty
35
much.
Games this
35
season.
games, especially since Mourinho's come in. He's pretty much started consistently, so it's not like he's got a lack of chances. And last season he got, I think, 10 Premier League goals, which I think, that included a hat-trick against Huddersfield at the back end of the season. But that's where he should be hitting. And 4 goals for a player of Lucas Moura's ability is just nowhere near good enough. Having said that, post-lockdown, his performance has improved a lot. I think Mourinho's really starting to get into him. So I think overall, I'm probably going to give him a 5, honestly.
5.
I think it might sound harsh, because I think he's improved a lot of late. But I think, Lucas Moura has that ability to be getting a lot more. He does.
I'm going to give him a 6. Because post-lockdown, I think he's probably been our best player. Maybe bar Harry Kane, I think he's been our best player. He's added that end quality to his game. He's added assists to his game. I think 4 of those assists probably all after lockdown. So you're probably right. First half of the season, he was literally a 4. So I'll give him... It's hard, this one. Yeah, I'm going to stick with 6 just because of the effort. that he puts into every game, and he literally runs and works so hard for the team, and he's added that quality now after lockdown. So I think 6 is pretty fair. Tongi. Shall we just say 4 and move on?
Yeah, you know,
3?
I think a 3 even. I think it's been. I think the first half of the season.
Look, you don't sprint at all in one game.
I think the first half of the season he's in about 5 territory. I think he had some good performances. You know, again he started the season
until Poch got sacked.
Yeah, I think he actually started the season okay-ish. You know, Villa was a good performance at the start. I remember he put in a good performance against Man City. Champions League, he was putting into good performances. I remember raving about him. Everton away.
That first half in the Bayern Munich game, he was brilliant.
He was man of the match. Everton away, I remember the first half of that game, he was brilliant. So there's been some real glimpses, but he's really fallen off a cliff in the second half of the season. But second half of the season, he's just fallen off a cliff. I would say first half of the season, like 5 out of 10. Second half is like 1 out of 10. It's been that bad. And he hasn't featured at all really under Jose. Well, especially post-lockdown. How many minutes has he played? Just Sheffield United and then Bournemouth. Yeah. That's it. It's been one of, I'd say for record signing, it's been one of the worst opening debut seasons for record signing, especially for
Soldado.
At least he got penalties, unfortunately. It's hard to say that, but I think so. You got to say it. And I think, look, we're all hoping Tongi improves in the second season. We all know he has the ability, but he needs to up his game. He needs to up his output. He needs to up his off-the-ball contributions to the team, because at the moment, he's offering very little. And as well as it remains to be seen, there's a lot of uncertainty whether he'll even be here next season. But we just got to hope he is, because I do believe in his ability. I think he's shown enough so far in Tottenham shirt to show that he can really be a very good player in centre midfield. But he's got to improve big time on his debut season.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a 3. He only gets those 2 marks because scored on his debut. He looked good in a few games, like you said. But to not sprint in a game is just... It's
0 sprints.
It's unforgivable, really, when you think about it. In a Premier League central midfielder, it's unforgivable to do these things. So, yeah, I don't want to talk about him for too much, but I'm going to give him a 3. Moving on to Giovanni La Celso, I mean, I'm giving him an 8. I think he's been sensational. I think he's... To be honest, I think maybe a 7, just because of his lack of goals and assists and how... He only came to the fore kind of later on in the season under Jose Mourinho. So maybe it is a 7, just because it took him time to get into it, and maybe next season when he has a full season behind him, more goals, more assists next season, then we can bump him up to an 8 or a 9.
I think his performances have been pretty consistent ever since around February time. Yeah. I think Southampton in the FA Cup, I think, was really that game where he really started to show his quality, and he's been pretty good ever since that game. I think as of late, maybe he hasn't, like in the past 2 or 3 games, he probably hasn't been as good as he was for the previous like 10 or 11. I'd give him a 7 as well. Yeah. I think really promising signs. I'm really happy with him. I think he's going to be a big player for us next season. But I think his poor start and relatively low-key end to the season just put him at a 7. Otherwise, he would have been 8 and 9 territory, how he was performing in that middle period.
But at the end of the day, however good he's been in the middle of the park, you know, we've seen some sensational moments from Giovanni Lo Celso, but I will just call on him to add some stats to his game, you know, the goals and assists, because he hasn't added any of those, really.
If he's playing centre mid, I don't think it's warranted, because I don't think you call on those. You know, you don't call on Modric like get goals and assists. It's not his role. But if he's playing behind the striker, then yeah, I agree. He needs to up his output. But I think he can do. I think he definitely has the ability.
Definitely. Sure. You saw it on his debut. He scored on his debut against Red Star, and that And you saw it for Betis week in, week out. He was adding it to the assists or goals.
But his dribbling, his footballing IQ, his passing...
Footballing IQ, that's the main thing about him. He is just so clever on the ball. It seems like he's got eyes at the back of his head. And I'm just loving him being at Tottenham Hotspur.
It's hard for players to get near him as well. So I'm really looking forward to what he can do next season with the full season under his belt. And I think he could even be a player of the year next year. Earlier prediction. Never know.
Could be. Skip only played 7 games. I don't think it's fair to give him a rating, to be fair.
Well, he started against Norwich in the FA Cup, didn't he? And I think Burnley away he started, and I think he did pretty good in those games. But
Burnley got taken off at half time.
He did, but it wasn't. I don't think it was mainly his fault. But Skip, I think he's a decent season-ish for him, but apparently he's going to go out on loan next season. He's signed a new contract. Clearly, Jose believes in him. I'm excited for the future for Skippy.
Yeah, no need for a rating for him. Ryan Cessnon as well, no need for a rating, 6 appearances.
Yeah, 6 appearances. For a 25 million signing, especially for someone like Ryan Cessnon, we definitely expected more.
Yeah, but
we did expect more. Let's be honest, we did expect more from him. We expected him to at least feature at least like 20 games or something in his debut season. And he'll be disappointed as much as we are, but he just didn't show the confidence when he got the chances.
I think every time we played, we said the same thing. He can't take on his man. He needs the confidence to take on his man, and he just never showed that. He never showed. I think the only game where he showed a little bit of quality was that goal against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, that was a good finish. But other than that,
yeah. Right, let's move on to Jedson. 7 games as well, no rating needed, but he hasn't filled me with much confidence.
He's got another year left on his loan deal. I haven't been that impressed whenever I've seen him. You could argue he hasn't played in his best position. He's been very much used as a winger or a wide player, like in the Sissoko kind of ilk, under Jose Mourinho. So I don't know whether it's fair to him to be saying he's a flop or whatever. But look, whenever I've seen him as of yet, I haven't been that impressed.
Yeah, me too. Steven Bergvine. 14 appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist. I'm
going to give him a 7 for a start. I think it's been a really solid start, especially coming from a league from Holland. He's been forced into a lot of starts, except for maybe the last few games. He's been forced into play maybe more than he would like to. But I think he's really impressed with his energy, his dribbling, his directness in front of goal. I think his versatility as well. I think he's very equally as comfortable on the left or the right. So I think he's going to prove to be a good signing, and I'm excited for the future. I don't think he's been unbelievable, but he's been pretty good. I think a 7 is fair.
I think he actually started a lot better. His first few games for us were really good, and I think he's kind of gone down a little bit. I'd like to see him when he's had a pre-season behind him and that kind of stuff, starting from a fresh season. But I'm happy with Steven Bergwijn. I think 7's a very fair result. I would like to have given him an 8. I think if he would have kept up those first 2 or 3 performances, he would have got an 8. But I think they just went down a bit because I think he was being overplayed, so it's not really his fault. But yeah, 7 is fair. And now the last 2. First one, Heung-min Son, our player of the season, goal of the season, 30 appearances, 11 goals, 10 assists.
I'll give him an 8. 8 out of 10. I think, I think Son is, I think 11 goals, 10 assists. I think in terms of goal contributions, that's probably one of the highest in the Premier League he's had since he's joined us. For someone like Son, he's played 30 games. I would like him to be nearer the 15 mark for goals. I think he's got that ability to be doing that. He's such a clinical finisher. That's why I'd like him to see more. But I think his assists rate, I don't think he's ever had 10 assists. He doesn't usually have so many assists for us. So that's really shot up for him. So I'm happy about that. I think he's also a player who's had a lot of problems this season. He's had military service. He's broke his arm. He scored 2 goals with a broken arm. And he's had injuries and he's been tired. But I think it's been overall really, really good season from him. I think he's probably been our most consistent attacker overall, and I think he should be happy with how his season's gone. But hopefully next season, I want him to see nearer the 15 goal mark.
Where would we be this season without Heung-min Son? Those 6 games, I think, in a row, 6 or 7 games in a row when Harry Kane was out injured, he was the one getting us out of jail every single one of those games. Even if he wasn't playing well, he would come up with the goods and score the goals. So look, I'm giving him an 8. Like you, I think he hasn't had a sensational season. It's not like it's one of his best seasons for Spurs, but he was our talisman while Kane was out. And I thought he really pushed us on. And I think if we wouldn't have had Son this season, we could have been lower than Arsenal this season, literally.
I think if he gets nearer to the 15 goal mark, he gets a 9. But I think an 8 for 11 Premier League goals.
10 assists, so.
He did get 10 assists, but he's such a good finisher. His shooting is his main attribute. So I just really I think he should be getting more than that.
Last but not least, Harry Kane. 29 appearances, 18 goals, 2 assists.
I think an 8. I think for when he's played, I think he's been pretty good, especially of late. He's been absolutely on fire. 14 goals in 19 games under Jose Mourinho. I think it's unfortunate that he's missed a chunk of the season through injury, especially from January onwards. But I think for the majority of the season, he's been pretty good for us. And I think if he played more games, he would easily hit the 25 goal mark for sure. So I think he's got to have an 8 out of 10 for him.
If he didn't get injured this season, he would have won Golden Boot.
For sure, 100%. No doubt about it.
I think Harry Kane, definitely in the last couple of games, it seems as though he's back to his best. I don't think it's been a sensational season from Harry Kane, but he's got the goals. His goals to games ratio is still very good, even though people are saying he hasn't had the greatest season. So I think I'm going to give him a 7. I'm going to give him a 7 because I don't think he's been amazing. But if he would have been like he has been the last 3 or 4 games all season, he would have got a 10. But I would just say a 7.
7. Okay, that's pretty fair. I think he's just. I
think
whenever he's
played,
his
ability, that's
yeah,
what
I guess.
You know
I think whenever he's played, he's been pretty good most of the time.
A lot of games he just goes missing in and then sometimes pops up with those goals, like Sonny did.
But but it's only of late he's all action displays to come back.
Exactly.
Jose Mourinho.
Jose, we did this in the post match last game, but I said I'd give Jose a 7, didn't I? Yeah, Jose a 7 because he's got the results. I mean, if it wasn't for this injury crisis, I really firmly believe he would have got Champions League football. I think the results were going the right way for Champions League. I think any manager would have struggled with that injury crisis. It was completely impossible for us to win games with it. Kane out, Son out, Sissoko out, and the rest of them as well, Laurice. So look, he hasn't had an easy deal as well with the pandemic as well. It's all really, really hurt our season. So I think from what he's been given, he's done very well. But you can't mark out not getting Champions League football this season because I think we should have got it. But like I said, it's the injuries that were the main problem. But he was our manager. I gave him
a 6. I think I'm going to give him a 6.5 in this, but I don't think it's as good as 7. Only just because. First of all, I think as you said, we should have got Champions League football. When he took over, we were 12 points behind 4th, but he did close that gap very quickly. And we were nearly level on points with Chelsea going into that game in December, and we lost that game. And then, so how many times were we 1 win away from getting back in the top 4? We never got that win, and I think he'll be kicking himself a bit. Look,
that's Tottenham. How many times were we 1 win away from everything?
Yeah, true. that's not. Yeah, it's not. It's true. But I think he'll be kicking himself a bit that he couldn't get those wins over the line. And I think also post lockdown, the couple of results we didn't get really cost us big time. However, we did improve a lot over lockdown. I think the more time he's getting with the squad, the better we're getting. The reason it doesn't get as far as 7 as well is, for me, a big thing was the FA Cup. And I'm sorry, going out to Norwich in the FA Cup was all so bad. It was so bad. We should have won that game. We should have given the FA Cup a really, really good run. And I think we should have been in top 4 contention going the latter part of the season. We should have been closer to top 4 than we were. Having said that, there was, as you said, a lot of things stacked against him, and I think he has done fairly well given the circumstances. But I think if we were maybe 1 or 2 points off top 4, he would have got a 7. But I think because we were 7 points, I think he's got to be with 6.5.
At the end of the day, it's really hard to come into a season, with the squad that was in a mess. 1 right back in the squad, 1 left back in the squad. It's hard for any manager to come into a team like that. So, look, you've got to give him credit for the way he handled it, the way he turned our season into a kind of positive ending. Or
Decent.
Positive ending, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No one thought there was light at the end of the tunnel, and then you can see a lot of people are looking forward to next season now. A lot of people can see what Jose Mourinho is trying to do. And what else I want to say is that I love the stuff he's coming out with as well. What else I want to say is I love the stuff he's coming out with in the press as well. It's so different to Pochettino. Pochettino always kind of like played his cards face down. Mourinho plays his cards face up. And they're completely different styles of management. And I love the things that Mourinho comes out with, especially the mentality stuff. He talks about, after that Sheffield United game, how he grilled into them and it was like, the mentality needs to change. And he was very open about that. And as well, he was talking about how, 1 more win until we win Europa League, 2 more wins till you win Europa League. I just love that mentality.
I like it. I do. I'm mixed on it because I like that kind of stuff, but what I don't like is his constant excuses and his constant moaning sometimes, and he's constantly always like, oh, you know, we don't have this, we don't have that, we should have a penalty here, that's why we didn't win, and because of this referee. And I know, I can understand that maybe it's a face he gives in front of the press, one face, and one face he gives in front of the dressing room. But it does frustrate me a bit. It does sometimes create a bit of a negative atmosphere when he's constantly complaining about these things, and that, like, that's why, that's the difference there in Pochettino. Pochettino never complained whenever there was injuries. He always kind of just got on with it, and a lot of the times, even with injuries, I remember there was games where we had Son and Kane out, and we were still grinding out wins somehow. And that's the kind of mentality I liked under Poch, whereas under Jose Mourinho, I feel like sometimes, like, we're beaten before we even start with those kind of games, because he just feels, because he's like, look, we have no attacking players, so what can we do? I understand it's difficult. It's difficult, but sometimes that can frustrate me a bit when he's complaining too much and being too negative. But I do like this shift in mentality of, like, we're going to win this. They're like, taking no crap.
Harry Kane said it in a nutshell. You know, he says Mourinho's come in and it's all about winning, like nothing else. We don't need to play pretty football. We don't need to score 20,000 goals. Just win the fucking game. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
And let's hope going into next season that he can bring that, and he can bring that trophy. And Lucas Moura even said next season's not about top four, it's about winning trophies. He said that explicitly. So hopefully the team can carry on their mentality.
All right, so there you have it. That is really the last player ratings of the season.
Season ratings, let us know.
Season ratings. Let me know your ratings in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree with our ratings as well. And as always, come on Spurs.